Outstanding, the ultimate accolade for teachers. We challenge primary teacher Annie Ashraf to go from good to outstanding. A top inspector will observe one lesson. 2 experts will fine-tune her practice and beef up her presentation. She then gets 2 weeks to take on the advice before the inspector comes back for the final verdict.
I went out with my friends and they were like saying, just do your worst. You can only get better after that. And I just thought, oh, okay then, but maybe not.
Down Primary is a popular school in Muswell Hill, North London. Annie Ashraf is teaching a Year 5 class.
I've been teaching for 13 years and I still don't feel like I know everything. I still feel like I still need to learn more ways in which I can help my children.
Head teacher Evelyn Pittman recognises Annie's strengths.
She's very strong, very experienced, very committed and very keen to develop herself.
My class, they're very lively, mainly boys. I've had to be a lot more practical, a lot more hands-on so I can grab their attention.
She's a very good teacher actually. She's a very good teacher.
So annoying.
They're really bright, really bright.
It's kind of about how we affect the earth pollution and stuff like that.
I enjoy some of her lessons. Some of them are just like too easy.
Annie's literacy and numeracy teaching is highly regarded. For this challenge, she's chosen to focus on her geography teaching, where she feels less secure.
I think I do know the basics, but I don't feel like I'm a real expert.
Yeah, I enjoy geography sometimes, but sometimes it gets a bit complicated and I don't really understand it.
In reality, you cannot be a subject specialist across the board, and this is part of what Annie's tussling with at the moment.
When it comes to literacy and numeracy, it tends to be just 1 or 2 objectives that we need to cover within that lesson, whereas geography tends to have 3 or 4. What I get confused about is which one should I be focusing on. These photographs I took when we went to Walton-on-the-Naze earlier on this week, and I want to use them in my first lesson. Where we're looking at Muswell Hill and photographs of Muswell Hill and comparing them to photographs of Walton-on-the-Naze.
It's the morning of her observation.
I am feeling really nervous. You see the classroom one way and somebody else is going to come in and see it in another way. I just want this all over and done with by now.
With hundreds of inspections under her belt, School Inspector Claire Gillies certainly knows an outstanding lesson when she sees one.
I've come to Down Primary School in North London to watch Annie Ashraf teaching her Year 5 class geography.
Annie has 60 minutes to impress our inspector, with the first lesson in a new unit on Walton-on-the-Naze.
Right, I'm going to be giving you a map. What's this map of? Orlando.
England.
Of England, you're quite right. And on the map, I'd like you to put down Walton-on-the-Naze in London, and then possibly one other place.
I feel like this. It's somewhere. London definitely isn't right on here. Because I mean, London's nowhere near a beach. It's about there. It's Walton-on-the-Naze. We know there's somewhere in the kind of overlapping. On the coast. On the coast, yeah.
We know from research that pupils are very clear in their minds what makes an outstanding lesson. They talk about the teacher being kind, a teacher who can explain clearly and say, what can I do to help you learn better?
Today, I just want to talk to you about the fact that geography is made up of 3 different things. Something called human geography. What do you think human geography could mean?
Like where humans live and stuff.
Where humans live, good, definitely, it does mean that. Robert,
how humans affect the environment.
Lovely. It does mean about how humans affect the environment. Physical geography. Anybody got an idea what that could mean? Daphne.
Well, it could be about, like, you know, some people try to cycle around the world.
Oh,
And then,
okay.
like, that type of stuff.
That kind of thing. Robert.
Isn't it about, like, different heights in the land or different sort of habitats? and
Yeah,
stuff?
Robert's actually got the idea. Physical geography actually means actually what the land really is like. Matthew.
Like ocean plates.
Ocean plates, good, yeah. So ocean plates could be physical geography, you're quite right. So that's physical. The next really hard question, what do you think environmental geography is? Milo.
It's sort of like living things and like the ozone layer and stuff.
It's living things and the ozone layer.
I enjoyed the lesson today because I like finding out like what the 3 meanings were of the 3 different geography.
Right. Now, what do you see in this picture that is human? James?
Cars.
Cars. Lovely. What else do you see? Alice?
Houses.
Houses. Could we see anything that could be physical? Leo?
Clouds.
Clouds. Oh, this is hard. Yeah, I suppose it could be because it's going to be about weather, so it's clouds. Robert?
In the environmental one, couldn't we put graffiti because that's sort of bad for the environment?
Why do you think we're putting that in this box here? Joseph?
Because when you spray the graffitis, there's some sort of chemical that comes up.
Okay, what you're going to do is something very similar to what I've done, and I've given you quite a few photographs.
That kind of called like a cliff sort of thing. Should we write cliff then? That's a
Cool, yeah.
That's not man made. Small cliff.
That's even better.
That's too hard. There's C for physical. Okay, C. A metal bar. Metal bar is physical. No, that's human. Metal is human. Do you have to make metal? I know, I'm going to ask you.
I understood this lesson quite well because it was all simple and there wasn't like really challenging things to do.
What environmental themes did you pick up when you looked at those pictures?
A washing line.
Why is that environmental?
Because it's saving the environment. Because if you have a tumble dryer,
Yeah.
that you're using electricity.
Okay, that's good, yeah, you're quite right. So there are people saving the environment. Okay, well, hopefully Year 5, this is an introduction to what Walton-on-the-Naze is like.
So, how did Annie get on?
Annie, thank you very much indeed for letting me observe that lesson. I certainly enjoyed being in the classroom, and I think your pupils enjoyed the session too. We had a lovely sort of warm welcome at the beginning of the lessons, and you've got a very gentle voice which encourages them to sort of listen clearly and calmly to each other's talking. And looking at the lesson as a whole, it was definitely a jolly good lesson.
Right.
And there were just probably sort of particular strands that perhaps meant it wasn't quite as wonderful as maybe you'd hoped or maybe you felt it would get to. In terms of some of the little extra bits at the beginning, the map you gave them, when you asked them about what is this, and one child responded, it's a map of England. Right, okay. So I just thought in terms of what do we mean by Great Britain, that perhaps you were sowing a few little seeds that needed to be
Resown.
a little tiny bit later. There. When one boy made a remark about ozone, you didn't in any way pick up on it at all. Now, I can well see perhaps you thought, if I go off down that tangent, my gosh, we're going to get into an enormous realm of...
I think, I was concerned about the time.
Where you were going
and
to.
where I'm going to.
So I think it's that taking those responses and stretching them to get a bit of depth of understanding.
Fine.
Because it's enormous, the
Yeah.
physical human. And I felt we'd got the basics of it, but we hadn't really perhaps had enough time to explore environmental issues.
No.
With the first observation behind her, the inspector highlighted Annie's need to stretch all of her pupils and to increase the depth of their geographical understanding. Now it's time to bring on the experts. To boost Annie's progress, help comes from primary geography expert Wendy North and voice and communications coach Ulrika Schulte-Bauchlow. They start by watching her lesson.
Where humans live, good, definitely, it does mean that. Robert.
I've noticed all kids involved, slow pace, gentle, stressing key points.
Clouds. Oh, this is hard.
She's not altogether clear about the geography. Sometimes it kind of goes a little bit rocky for her.
She has some mannerisms, touching her hair, and this kind of necklace.
Ocean plate. Ocean plate.
And mine's about helping her support all the children in the class. Yes.
Fantastic. So let's see how it works.
Okay. Okay, Annie, what I want to do with you is share...
To help Annie challenge all of her class, they start by looking at an activity with built-in differentiation.
The activity is called Odd One Out.
Right.
And we have to give some reasons why we think one of these places is the odd one out.
Well, I would think that Cranmore and Muswell Hill would be more together because I can see more land, whereas here we've got a coast and there isn't a coast in either of those two.
Okay. And I would agree with you on that. So on these, really, it's people that change the land.
Okay.
Here, the sea does, because it's the interface between the human and the physical in a way. Now, what we've got there is a slight differentiation, so it's nothing wrong. If some of your children give another reason, they're not wrong.
Yeah.
But it actually gives that chance to extend the other more able children.
Yeah.
One of those things that people who are not very experienced often put at the heart are some inquiry questions that might help you move it on.
Inquiry is different from just questioning skills, though,
It
isn't
is,
Yeah.
yes. So if we're doing an inquiry,
Yeah.
then we're going to start with asking questions.
Yes.
And actually asking their own questions. Then there's going to be a number of ways that you can actually help them to research those questions. And you've had photographs.
Yeah.
You might be able to get hold of maps. There might be some on the internet. Then when you have done that, it's always good to actually think about some purpose for doing it. Something that helps structure it and something that helps them to contribute their ideas, perhaps about where they're actually wanting to go and look at when you actually go and do the field work.
No, I can see that,
Some of them might be interested in the fossils on the beach, some of them might be interested in the tower. There's a range of things, and that means that you've got a structure there as well that will support all of your children. But you've actually got the possibilities of your more able children going off and researching further. So you don't always have to be the expert.
No.
Ulrika notices that some of Annie's mannerisms are getting in the way of her verbal communication.
How much do you think are your pupils listening to your words?
It's really hard. It's really hard to say. Hopefully, I would have thought about 80%.
80%?
Yeah.
Okay. How much do you think they listen to the sound of your voice?
Probably about 20%.
Okay. And how much do you think they listen to your body language?
40.
Okay. So we come mathematically wise, we come to 140. Don't worry.
Doesn't matter.
It's fine. It's completely fine. So what this really shows, and this is actually what most people think, that people listen mostly to the words. So there's a sociologist, his name is Meribian, he's an American.
Right.
He found out that people only listen 7% to words.
Really?
Yep. It is much more that they listen to the voice, which is 38%.
Okay.
And this is the biggest point, which is 55%.
Whoa.
So that means if you use your body language in a way which is distracting,
Yeah.
it has a whole effect on the rest.